Good evening. I'm calling back to order the January 8th meeting of the North Andover School Committee. We are returning from an executive session. Please join me in standing for the pledge. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's dive right into the consent agenda. We have minutes from November 20th, December 4th, and December 15th, all in the packet. Mr. Brown.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes that are in the packet. I've reviewed them and edited them, and I believe they are accurate. So I move that we adopt the minutes of November 20th, December 4th, and December 15th as presented in the packet.
Thank you. Second.
Nobody there needs to sign.
Oh, a second.
Thank you. We'll take 30 seconds just to review. Fantastic. We'll move on to vote. Mr.
Wait,
Moss?
do we have discussion?
Yes. Oh, discussion. Yes, you may discuss.
No, my name is just spelled incorrectly. If they could just...
Thank you. Michelle will fix that.
Yep.
Which one?
Oh, Sama.
Oh, I already corrected that. Okay, somehow it got
Thank
missed.
you. Anything else?
Sorry.
Nope. Absolutely fine. Mr. Moskovich?
Yeah.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Sams?
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. Next, we have an annual report, quick informational item from the superintendent.
Yes. In your packet tonight, you have the annual report from SEAM Collaborative. The annual report outlines SEAM Collaborative's work during the 2024-2025 school year. It includes in-district services that build district capacity and specialized programs for students whose needs cannot be met in the district. The report highlights instructional initiatives, student supports, facilities, planning, and a collaborative approach that promotes positive student outcomes while strengthening district's ability to serve students locally.
Thank you, Superintendent Lathrop. The committee was provided with a copy of the report previously. It's an information item, and there's nothing for us to approve of it. Any quick questions for the superintendent? In general, working with SEAM is a good thing, correct?
It's working with SEAM is a wonderful thing.
Awesome. That's what we like to hear. Great. Moving on to the next item. Communications 1, students.
Han's here.
Students,
You're not at the table.
come on up. I know it's weird that you're over there and we're over here.
No, don't worry about it.
But you're
It's
still a part of
perfect.
us. We still love having you here.
Okay, so I'll just start us off with the high school musical Grease has begun Tech Week. Come see the show next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at North Andover High School. There was a night held for college-bound juniors this past Tuesday, and it was very well attended and has had a lot of good feedback as well. Speaking of different junior events, DECA is having their Credit for Life event to teach juniors about realistic financial situations and scenarios, and this will be happening on February 4th in the North Andover High School gym. National Honor Society is having a chocolate club fundraiser, and Red Cross Club is looking for more members and will be choosing leaders soon. They are planning for a necessities drive to make care bags, and American Cancer Society, or ACS, is planning Relay for Life and will be dedicating it to Savannah Sullivan. Student Council is planning for upcoming fundraisers, such as a Valentine's Day one, and there is a VEX Robotics event next Saturday. The second quarter, or first semester, ends on January 30th, and this comes with approaching midterms and finals for all of our classes. Additionally, winter sports have been going good, and lots of games and meets have already happened. So that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. I have
Thank you.
a question.
Yes, go ahead.
You're a junior, correct?
Yes.
Did you go to the college night?
I was unable to attend, but I heard some really good things. And
What types of things did people learn there?
yeah, so I believe there was just different things about admissions and what to look for, what they look for in different essays, and when you're writing about your different activities and really just what they're looking for during that admissions process.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Other queries?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Moving on to public comment. We are anticipating during budget season that we'll have more public comment than normal, so I just want to take an opportunity to review our public comment guidelines. They're officially our policy BEDH-R, and you can find them online in our policy manual. We welcome community members to observe and offer public comment as we conduct our meeting and deliberate over public business. There is a law that governs what that looks like. You can check out the Mass General laws if you want to read the exact law. But in general, these are our rules that we commit to for public comment. We have it for 15 to 20 minutes at every meeting, and generally it's usually at the beginning. We reserve the right to rearrange the agenda to accommodate scheduled presenters. We usually have it as the third item like we have now under Communications 1. We also typically have it at the end of a meeting, so sometimes it is best to wait till the end of the meeting to hear the things we discuss and then comment afterwards. That is not a direction, just a suggestion. From time to time, we may designate public comment for a specific item contained within the agenda. So we would ask that if there was something that we wanted to hear about in particular, we do that first, and then of course people are welcome to hear comment on other things, but sometimes we wait until for those to be heard afterwards. It's not a discussion, a debate, or a dialogue between the citizens and the committee. It's just the citizens' opportunity to share. You may address any items that affect the school district and are within the scope and responsibility of the school committee. No member of the community shall speak until recognized by the chair. Any citizen wishing to speak shall identify themselves by name and address. Please try and limit your remarks to 2 to 3 minutes. We're going to make sure we're practicing that tonight if we need to. Ms. Cormier, in the lovely role of vice chair, will have the opportunity to run the stopwatch with the slightly obnoxious and yet friendly buzzing sound from Apple. We do have the opportunity to add additional time if necessary. All citizens shall speak to the full committee through the chair, so please direct your remarks to me and not to others. I will rule you out of order if you fail to follow those guidelines. And any committee member may direct questions to the speaker through the chair in order to clarify comments. A group of citizens appearing at a meeting to express favor for or opposition to a particular agenda item should designate one member of the group as a spokesperson to be heard on the topic. And then we do respond. We can do that by taking it under consideration when deliberating on an item, referring the item to the admin for appropriate action. If it requires other dialogue with the school district community, we may place it on a future agenda or schedule a separate meeting. And if necessary, we do want to try and limit our comments, make sure we stay within the guidelines, and we encourage people who live in the town to speak first, and those, if the opportunity allows, from other places to then speak second. We'll try and do that to make sure that our community has the opportunity to speak when they need to. So those are our guidelines, and we'll make sure that those are followed the best we can. So, public comment. Awesome. We'll have it at the end if you have other comments to share. Moving on to upcoming events. Superintendent Lathrop.
We heard some from Han tonight. I think the musical is something that Greece we're all looking forward to at the high school. I just want to also encourage our families as a reminder that each schoolhouse sends out a newsletter. That's where they have all of their school events listed. It's a great place to look and see what's happening. And then as well as our school website, we have a district calendar, and that's another place where you can always go and find information that's happening within the town. Other than that, I don't have any other
Fantastic.
events.
Community chats. We're going to have some of those coming up. It is budget season, and we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for the community to chat with the school committee so we can hear everybody's ideas and feedback from as many places as possible. We've scheduled 3 separate community chats over the next couple of weeks. There's one on Monday. We tried to vary them from the weekends and different times and places, or different times. Monday, January 12th from 6 to 7. Saturday, January 17th from 1 to 2:30, and Monday the 26th from 6 to 7. All of us are participating in one of those community chats. I don't remember all the exact ones, but we will all be at least one of them. So please join us at the Stevens Library on the first floor conference room.
And bring your friends.
Bring your friends. And now moving on to Superintendent Lathrop.
Great.
Recommended budget.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see some people here in attendance tonight. It's always important to come out and hear about the school budget, so it's great to see you here and your participation. And then we're really happy, that hopefully, oh, you good? Oh.
Sorry to interrupt, Superintendent.
Can you
we
get the presentation on
our screen of in
the
the
screen up
front?
front for the school committee? Is this screen up front going to be working? It
It's
is
not.
not.
Do I just need to push the power button?
Plug it in.
So as they're doing that, just a reminder, hopefully there's folks at home that are watching it, but these are all are all recorded, and we encourage folks to take some time to be able to see these presentations. Our school leaders do put them in their newsletters, and we try to give you a timestamp of where you can see some of the presentations, so we encourage folks to do that.
And your presentation is online in the agenda already, so if
Oh.
people want to follow along.
Great.
And you have it in your packet. You're at the table.
We have it back on the table. The screen is coming on, so we'll just give it a second.
Oh, it's there.
Oh, there we go.
I did it.
Great.
Well done, Joe.
So again, good evening, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here tonight to present the superintendent's recommended budget for fiscal year 2027. The proposal reflects our commitments to maintaining high educational standards while being fiscally responsible to the town of North Andover. Next slide. So to ground our discussion, I want to start with, who are the people we serve? These are the people we serve. This slide outlines the demographics of North Andover. This is from school year 24-25, because that's, I took this information from the Department of Education. But these are our children. These are the students, these are our populations. We're here to reflect their specific needs, their foundation. We're making sure that we have making financial decisions for the students of North Andover. Hopefully you can see that slide, because it looks a little tiny from here. Next slide. So this slide reflects the budget priorities that the school committee set forth when we were talking about getting ready for budget season. Sometimes we might think about them as guiding pillars or things that we think about as we're building the needs for our students. So these are really built on 4 guiding pillars: fiscal responsibility, meeting the needs of all learners, instructional quality, and safe and supportive schools. So fiscal responsibility looks at aligning our budget with the town's parameters, exploring new revenue streams, and ensuring that every contract is accurately reflected to maximize efficiency. We're meeting the needs of all learners. We look at prioritizing special education staffing and strengthening our K-5 literacy initiatives. We also want to ensure that we have equity by expanding access to our students in terms of some of the courses that they can select. For instructional quality, we're focusing on high-quality instructional materials and supporting structured time for our educators for collaboration and coaching. And in terms of safe and supportive schools, we are committed to maintaining safe facilities and ensuring that our class size remain within an equitable range set forth by the school committee. Next slide. So this evening, the superintendent's recommended budget will preserve services. It will maintain all current essential services and programs for students. It will, oops, I lost my slide, sorry, there you go. Maintain our current class sizes with a slight reduction targeted at the middle school. It will prioritize and support programming for our special education students. It will reduce crowding on our school buses and improve route efficiency. And it will prioritize early learning initiatives to build a strong foundation. And it will show an investment in increasing of our overall school spending to support our district goals. Let's look at the numbers. The FY26 budget is $69.2 million. The budget has an allocation of an increase of roughly 4%, 4.05%, which brings us to which is an increase of $2.8 million. And that shows us an initial budget of $72 million. If you heard me talk in December, I shared that we have some curriculum, a curriculum allowance that was adjusted after that 4.05% was offered to us of $200,000, which increases the increase to our budget by $3 million, which brings us to an amended total of $72.2 million for FY '27. So I'd like, oh, bless you. So now I want to sort of walk you through the soups. Lost it again.
I promise I'm not touching it.
We'll walk you through the superintendent's recommended budget. So in the superintendent's recommended budget tonight, you're going to see salaries, which is really, salaries are devoted to the people that are working here in our school, and this table reflects that. And these are really some of our most important people in the district. You're going to see the expenses, and you'll see the total. So for our salaries from the superintendent's recommended budget, it's $59,763,211. Expenses are $13,942,078, with a total of $73,705,289. If you remember from the slide before, the recommended budget by the town is $72,200,000. So the recommended superintendent budget is over by roughly $1.5 million. And again, this slide shows that most of our money goes towards salaries because these are the people that are working directly with the students. I will talk later on in the presentation about how some recommendations I have to how we might be able to address the overage in the budget, in the superintendent's recommended budget. So this next slide just gives you an overview of the total budget of $73,705,289. It takes you through what sort of cost centers would make up that. That would be our salaries, our transportation services, our out-of-district placements, teaching, instructional materials, and professional development, building-based budgets, nursing, athletics, our maintenance, and custodial operations, technology and software. That would be district-wide, that's non-curriculum, special education contracted services, and other district-wide expenses, as well as our legal expenses. And that brings us to the $73,705,289. Sorry if I pause, I keep this slide
up there,
here.
Very
Oh, is it
distracting.
happening up there?
Yeah.
Sorry, okay. So within that budget, of the superintendent's recommended budget, the first thing I want to talk about is a level service budget. Okay. So the level service budget, which is within the 73 million, funds salary expenses, that's all staff, that's the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, the STEP, the column changes, and any other contractual obligations. A level service budget funds special education, out-of-district tuition increases, and any changes in student placement. Our transportation contracts, which would be general education, special education, the foster and homeless transportation, as well as athletics, and any other known contractual obligations. In essence, when you think about a level service budget, you're really taking what you have right now and you're moving those forward to the next year, and you're adding in what the increases of contractual obligations might be. So to remind us of our salary agreements, these are each of our units and what we have agreed to. You'll see that you'll see 4% for both our teachers, cafeteria workers, our administrators in Unit B, so that would be assistant principals and program coordinators, and any of our non-union folks who have independent contracts, that would be people like me. And then you'll see our custodians have a 3% and an additional step adjustment. Just as a reminder, our cafeteria workers are not part of the operating budget. They come from a revolving account. Currently, our teaching assistants and our administrative assistants are in negotiations. So in this budget, there is a reserve funding in order to be able to meet our, prepare for our contract negotiations with those two groups. But they don't currently have that contract settled. Okay, we're going to reboot.
No, it fails.
Has a signal.
There we go. Great. So I want to, as I start to talk about what is going to be included in the FY27 superintendent's budget, I want to remind you of class size, and I want to remind you of this chart that I shared in December when we were talking about some budget considerations, and that we have one grade at the Franklin School, a bubble grade, where currently they have 4 fourth grade classrooms, and they have 3 fifth grade classrooms. So in order to prepare for those students, that is something that we're thinking about. And we are anticipating that all of the amount of students that we currently have in kindergarten will be the same amount of students in first grade. So we're not anticipating any changes from kindergarten to first grade. I just wanted to remind you that that was the one additional, one area that we knew we had to address in FY27. So the FY27 superintendent's recommended budget, in terms of staffing, these are the staffing additions that are above level services. So what we currently have, and these would be added to level services. The addition of the 1 elementary teacher, which I just showed you in that enrollment chart. The addition of 1 middle school teacher. We shared with you at the December meeting that in our middle school, especially in related arts, they have larger class sizes. This would help to bring those class sizes down at the middle school. And then also we have an addition of 3 special education positions. And really, if you take a look at that, I'm just going to skip one for a second and look at 3 teaching assistants. You'll see that in this budget, we have made special education a priority. It is something that we have heard through presentations from CPAC, through our special education advisory, through the presentation that we heard from Lynn O'Neill, our special education director. So those 3 special education positions, I'll just talk about those for a few minutes. 2 of them will be focused around the RISE program. So the RISE program focuses on our students who have profound autism. Currently, the RISE program is located at the ABECC and at Franklin School. The 2 of those positions would support the RISE program in general. The other position would be a general special education position that would support our students in all of our schools. It is 1 position. I cannot tell you at this point what building it would be in or where it would be. There is a likelihood that it might be a shared position in more than 1 building, but it is our step to start to address the needs of our special education students in North Andover. And I just want to remind you that we also, sort of as we go towards the spring, Lynn O'Neill, our special education director, will look at caseloads, she'll look at new IP students, and that's a time where we may have to make some adjustments about where special education teachers are located for the next year. But this adds 1 extra special education teacher to be able to support our students. We are looking to add 1 assistant principal at the ABECC. Because of retirement, we looked at the leadership at the ABECC, and we are really looking to structure that leadership structure similar to what we have in our elementary schools, where we have a principal and an assistant principal. These are our youngest learners. If you look back and you think about our priorities in terms of early literacy, this would help support early literacy initiatives. The Department of Education has put a very large emphasis on pre-K and kindergarten and really pushing districts to examine and adopt pre-K curriculum, and this will allow us to be able to support some of those initiatives as well. And then adding 3 teaching assistants to the budget as well. We talked about this year. This year we have added these 3 teaching assistants into the budget, or we have them here, but we're moving that money, making sure we have money in FY27 for those positions. And then increasing the daily substitute rate to $125. This makes us more competitive. We have a hard time maintaining substitutes in North Andover because our rate is not competitive. They're able to go to other districts. Sometimes we find they may take a job here and then they may cancel the job and go to another district. And by raising that rate, we feel we can be more competitive and have some more consistency in our classrooms and within our schools. And then in terms of expenses, for the FY27 superintendent's recommended budget, recommending that we add $175,000 to the technology expense line item. This will allow us to purchase Chromebooks. We have heard from some of our students and some of our faculty that the student Chromebooks need replacement, and we know that they need replacement. This will allow us to develop a replacement cycle, and that $175,000 will be able to bring in about 700 Chromebooks into the district. We need to add a general education school bus. We have talked about that this year. If people are here listening who have kids who ride a school bus, or people at home listening, we have some school buses that are crowded this year, and we also have some school buses that have very long routes that are making it challenging for students to get to school on time. We are going to make a reallocation from grant funds to the general fund. So I'm recommending taking $100,000 and adding that to the out-of-district tuition, and taking $150,000 and adding that to out-of-district transportation. So that's a reallocation from grants into the general fund. And then an increase in the athletics budget. This is based on our current trending and what we see as needs, and then an increase in per pupil allocations in our school budgets. Our schoolhouse leaders have found it challenging with the amount that we're spending per pupil for our students, and we want to be able to support them having some ability to do some things within their school building. While we are one district, every building is unique, and there's an opportunity to have a little bit of autonomy in a building. It helps support their school improvement plans, abilities to send their teachers for professional development to some of the courses, and then also to be able to provide some of the basic supplies that they need within their schools. So some other information that I just want you to be aware of is this looks at the the FY27 expected FTEs, or full-time equivalency of people, and then the salary and stipend allocations. So what I'm going to show you in this chart is that it's important to note that we have monies that come from the general fund, but we also have revenue sources from grants and revolving that we are using. So if you look, we're sort of circled there. If we're spending, I'm going to go to the second chart. So if we're spending $59,763,211 from our general budget in terms of meeting all our salaries and stipend allocations, we are also spending money from grants and revolving. So really, we are spending $60,897,255 to meet our salary and stipend allocations. And I think it's important for the school committee to know that these are revenue sources that we are using to support our budget, and that, however things may land as we sort of progress in the world, and grants and revolving change, we do spend more than what you see in the general budget. And the other side shows the FTEs, and so that's similar. So what we see in the general budget is 636, or really almost 637. I don't know how we have a 0.99 of a person, but this way it works out. So 637 FTEs, but we also have some that are part of the grants and revolving, so that really in the district we have 650 FTEs of people. So this slide just looks at that a little bit differently. So this is what our staffing costs. So again, our budget for compensation is $59,763,211. And then we have educators and support staff. That compensation is about $54 million. That would be teachers, teaching assistants, administrative assistants, custodial staff, any support staff. And then administrative compensation is almost $6 million, a little over $5.5 million. And then other staff is about $94,000. So rightly so, our budget represents that the most of our budget is spent on North Andover Public School staff, because these are the people that are working directly with our students, and then we have a smaller piece of administrators in the district. The next slide shows you the expenses. I had talked about, I think I showed there's maybe a little bit of, there's a ghost in here. as well. But this breaks out our expenses just so that you can see where on one of the slides I had showed you the expenses for the superintendent's recommended budget was $13,942,078, and this shows you where that breaks out. Seeing the two largest pieces of our expenses are transportation and out-of-district placement. In the next couple slides, I'm going to just talk about them a little bit more so that you can understand. But this shows you the cost centers as part of our expenses. So as I said, I was just going to break out transportation services because it's one of our largest cost centers for you to see. So this slide shows you the in-district costs for transportation, the out-of-district costs for special education, in-district general education, and our homeless, our foster transportation. So our total general fund, what we're spending from the operating fund, is $6,209,088. But just like in the slide I showed you in terms of salaries, we also take funding from IDA and revolving accounts. So our true number of what we're spending on transportation is $6,659,088. So, roughly about maybe $3 million or so over what you see in the general fund. Sorry, my slides got out of whack here. And then in out-of-district, I just wanted to show you the trending that we have in out-of-district placements, because that is one of our largest expenses. So this shows you from FY23 to what we're projecting in FY27. You can see the amount of students that we had in out-of-district placement. The trending was we were going down, we rose a little bit, and then we're trending back towards keeping our students in district, which is what we definitely would want to see. Oopsies. And just so that you have an opportunity to see what that looks like financially, out-of-district tuitions from the general fund are about $4 million, and then we do have grant funding, the IDA, and we do have circuit breaker money that we use, and so our out-of-district actual costs are $6.6 million. That does include $100,000 for Greater Lawrence After Dark. So that's our program where our students participate in both North Andover Public School and Greater Lawrence School. So remember I told you that when we got later in the presentation, I was going to talk a little bit about our proposal for closing that gap and how we're going to think about that $1.5 million. I probably am going to ask Ms. Dowd to help me through this a little bit, but I can just give you an overview, and then if I miss anything, she certainly will jump in. So FY26, we had an anticipated reimbursement of $2.5 million that you receive in FY27. I'm proposing that we utilize $1.5 million of the anticipated $2.5 million and the FY27 budget to bridge that gap, which would leave $1 million in circuit breaker reserves. You have heard us talk about this year about the ability to look at what we have in circuit breaker and really trying to have 1 year of circuit breaker in reserves. That would change what we have talked about. That would change the plan that we had moving forward to use some of that money to be able to bridge the gap. Here. Bless you. And so then, in closing, the superintendent's recommended budget. The superintendent's recommended budget is continues to be salaries of $59,763,211, expenses of $13,942,078, with a total cost of $73,705,289. I'm recommending that we use circuit breaker to offset the $1.5 million roughly, which would lead me to a superintendent's recommended budget of $72,200,000. And again, this will maintain all current services and programs for our students. It will maintain our current class sizes with a slight reduction at the middle school. It will prioritize and support programming for our special education students. It will reduce crowding on our school buses and improve route efficiency. It will prioritize early learning initiatives to build a strong foundation. and it will increase overall school spending to support our district schools. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to the other members, I have one question.
Sure.
Not about the numbers yet. I noticed that we have a group of administrators here in the audience. Can you tell us who is here and the role that they played in developing this budget with you?
Sure. This is like a test of my memory skills. So we
'Cause they
have
matter.
the wonderful, fabulous Karen Leahy, who is the principal of the Sargent School. We have also fabulous principal, now I started with fabulous, right?
Equally fabulous.
Equally fabulous principal at the Franklin School, Nicole Radowski. And then we have our assistant a principal for student services at the Franklin School, Caitlin Queenan. Behind Caitlin Queenan is principal at this school, the middle school, North Andover Middle School, George Gonzalez. Next to George is Jacqueline Taylor, who is one of our directors of curriculum. Next to Jacqueline is Joe Clark, who is also a director of curriculum. Behind them is Erin O'Laughlin, who is the principal at Atkinson Elementary. And sitting next to Erin is Tiffany Goddard, who is the principal at AVECC. Over here is Deb Holman, who is our principal at North Andover High School. And you know the leadership team that's here on the board. Did I miss anybody? Okay. And the
what did they do?
role they took, so I did share this in last time when we met in December, but our principals, we start really, for us, budget season starts in August and September. It's when we have our retreat. It gives us an opportunity to reflect on the year past and to start planning for the year forward. So they're part of helping to develop the district improvement plan and then developing their own school improvement plans. And from that is how they start to glean things that they need for their schools or items or suggestions they have for moving forward. They made those presentations to you. We meet as a district leadership team, and we have an opportunity where each building leader, as well as our curriculum, did I see Kara here too? No, okay. Each of our curriculum directors and the people sitting at this table have an opportunity to talk about the needs. What do we need? What do we see? What's important? And the other folks that we bring in are assistant principals and our program coordinators as well. And from that, we start to prioritize, talk about, what that might look like. Again, prioritize. We all have lots of needs. I shared with you the last time I was here a more extensive list of needs that principals brought forward in terms of more staffing, some more curriculum leaders, teacher leaders within our building, and then we work together to prepare this budget for you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Questions from the rest of the committee? Mrs. Cormier, would you like to
All right, I'll kick
start us off?
All right, am I going through all of my questions or slide by slide?
So our options are everybody goes slide by slide, and we do that as a big group, or we can just do all the questions from each individual member. Do you have a preference?
I would say do them all from each member.
All from each member.
Okay, all right,
Can we start with 3 from each member, and then we'll go around and come back?
sure.
So everyone.
I got a list, I got 18, okay. All right. All right, oh man, now I gotta pick and choose.
They might get answered by others, too.
I know, that's okay, so let's go to slides. So first, thank you Superintendent Lathrop and the rest of the team for putting this together. Slide 7. So this shows the budget, the 73.
Correct.
Broken out by the various cost centers.
Correct.
How is the increase over this year's actuals? Is it equally spread? I'm just wondering, is there some of these areas that got more of the budget than others? Is the increase relatively similar? Did you look at it that way, or was that not, maybe this is more to Gail, is that not an appropriate way to think about it? I'm just trying to look at these and go, where are we, looking at the individual items and trying to see where are we putting more funding in versus this year's actuals?
So I can try to answer, and then if Gail can chime in, or anybody can chime in as well. So obviously, first we look at our collective bargaining agreements and any contracted services that we have, because we know that those are costs that are going to have to move forward. And that really does That's a lot of what we already do in terms of any contract that we may have. We look at our out-of-district services, any students that we know that they're going to continue to be out-of-district, or students that may be going to out-of-district. We look at, we start to, bless you, get a sheet from all of our out-of-district providers telling us what their increases may be so that we can factor those in. And then, I'm trying to think, most of it is just moving forward in terms of what we have now and what it's going to cost to be able to do that for next year. And then any of that other, also embedded in there, would be any of the additions that we added. And those go by need, and they go by this, the budget directives from the school committee. So we really looked at the budget directives, looked at what the principals and the directors were looking for, and then made the additions that way. Do you want to add anything, Gail?
That makes sense, and for any of the. Thank you. So as part of that, throughout, from what Pam was saying, we look at anything that we have a contractual obligation. So if I look at, probably a tough one, custodial services, we have a 3-year contract with our pest management. We know what that cost is going to be, our copiers. So it's a combination of baseline, zero-based, carrying everything that we know with contractual obligations, looking at areas we're spending, do we need to, do we not need to? So it's a whole, it's a combination of all of it.
All right, thank you. I think if possible, what could be interesting for the next round is to see kind of what was this percentage increase over this year's actuals predicted for these, if possible. Just, because I know we know overall how much the budget went up, but how much did it go up for each area, if possible. Kind of next question. So going to slide 20, I'm going to hop around here. Sorry.
20.
Sorry, Kristen.
Not a problem.
All right, so we have the total costs for the superintendent budget, the 73.7,
Correct.
correct? So, but as you showed us through in the other slides, there is quite a bit more funding, whether it's from grants or revolving funds, that get spent and invested in our children. Do you have that total number? Because I think as we think about how much we're spending in total on our schools and students, the answer, assuming that it's 73 points, it's more than that. So I'm just right, because you were showing it individually
Well,
on
this
grants.
is, so it's kind of like two different things you're asking for. So my presentation is on the superintendent's recommended budget. So my budget would be recommended based on the general fund. So my budget recommendation to all of you is $73,705,289. The next question is, well, what are we currently spending in our district? Would be looking at those other pieces, which we have showed in some of our school committee presentations and budget, but also adding all of that up to see what we really spend on. And it raises a really important question, because that's something that we're going to have to talk about. Because I'll be honest, I mean, this 1.5 million from circuit breaker is a stopgap. This is a opportunity to be able to provide these additional services, but it is not a guaranteed set of money, and as you're spending your reserves. And we know that the funding from the grants, it really takes more to run this district. So it begs the question of, we have to have that conversation of what's next for North Andover. And the town manager laid that out for us in the tri-board meeting, talking about that, the revenue, the funding sources aren't going to be enough in current years for both the towns and the school.
So so the 73.7, this is would be the town budget plus using the circuit breaker. But then and it's so separate from the budget conversation. I just trying to make sure all of us understand we are spending more on our
We are spending more on our students.
because there are other sources. So as we're trying to figure out and do the math and trying to make sure we're investing correctly.
Correct.
There's more to add here. So we can't just divide that by a number of students. There's another, at least from I see it needs a million or so more, if not more.
Go ahead.
Okay. Jump in quickly. Just one point that I wanted to point out is that the items we're showing in here coming from the grants are really so we did transportation and tuition, because those truly are sort of ongoing. There are a lot of other grant funding that we receive that are the title grants are very specific what they can be used for. We obviously have the revolving funds for school nutrition and stuff. So what we put in here were sort of the ones that you can directly tie to the day-to-day operations of it. We do have a separate process where we have the school committee approve all of the budgets for the various revolving funds, but those, to add that to this we can do that at the end, but it's a much different purpose behind it.
Yeah, and I guess, thank you, I truly appreciate that. So I would not, to clarify my question, I would not ask for it to be added in here. I'm just trying to make sure that myself and anyone else understands how much additional funds that we are still spending on the students. Okay, so my third question, going to bundle it in, kind of what you just said, I'm going to go back, Superintendent Lathrop, to what you were commenting on. It's really, how do we sustain this? So this is an increase. We're using circuit breaker funds. We don't have another $1.5 million to grab every year, I'm assuming. I know you're going through a strategic planning process right now, really looking into what do we need to do to improve our scores for our students. If we keep doing the same thing we're doing, we're going to keep getting the same results. So you're working with your team and the community to outline that. What's your expectation on how we handle that and sustain that in go forward years?
Good question. So my expectation is that if this moves forward for this year, just what I said, this is a stopgap, but moving forward, we need more money. And we know that, and I think the town manager said that in the tri-board meeting in terms of what the town needs as well and what we are able to bring into the town. And we need to look at, that's why we're doing a strategic plan. So we'll have a 5-year strategic plan so we can have the needs of the district or the wants of the district outlined. And then we need to actively start planning for an override for FY28.
Thank you. All right, that's my 3. I'll stop now.
We'll come back to you. Yep, we'll do a second round. We'll go to the other side of the table. Mrs. Sams.
Okay.
3 questions.
So if we can go to slide 12. All right, so we have a reallocation of grant funds to the general fund, which I appreciate, right? Because we're saying we're using a lot of grant funds for our needs. We're going to start to shift that over. Does that then free up grant money for other purposes, or does that grant money just?
No. The reason we did that is because that comes from the IDEA grant, and we have been concerned as that grant fund money has gone down. We have seen it trending downwards, and we want to make sure that we are able to provide the same services that we have. And so we are cautiously planning. We took some of what money we normally would have planned to use from the grant fund. It's a no and yes, actually. What we would have planned to use from the grant fund, we have moved into the general fund, anticipating that grant money dollars may not be the same that it has been. Now, if it comes in the same that it has been, then yes, we do have those fundings that are in a grant to use.
Thank you. I also wanted to mention, I appreciate this budget. I think that if you would have come to us with a budget that was within the town's recommendation, we would have been disappointed. We know our students have needs, so I really appreciate you recognizing that our students do have additional needs and addressing those. Thank you. My other question was when you talked about adding the special ed positions, and I know we had the Council on Special Education that's working, we have the Urban Collaborative Report. Were those the types of things that are taken into consideration?
Those are the kinds of things that were taken into consideration when we made the determination to really, as you see, that's 6 positions in special education to move forward.
And slide 13. So on this one, I just want to clarify, because we talked about, we have our general fund, we're spending more than we have in the general fund, but I want to make it very clear, we are not operating in the red.
We are not operating in the red. We are using grants and revolving money that we have. We are not operating in the red. We are working well within our budget this year, as we have presented in all of our budget reviews that Ms. Dowd has brought forth to the committee. We are not operating in the red.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll go to the other side of the table. Mr. Brown, your 3 questions to start.
All right, well, thank you. First, just a point of clarity, right? That we used a lot of terms to describe the 4% increase. It's the town manager's recommendation, right, is what that number is for our general fund increase. I think we called it something else, but that's what that number is.
That is the number that was presented to us by the town manager.
Okay. And I think it might be worth pointing out for everybody listening at home, whatever, right, that's more than the other departments got.
It is
right?
more than the other departments, but I think it was 2.85 that the other departments received. And that also was part of the discussion of that's not sustainable for those departments
Right.
either. And recognizing, I think the town recognized that the school has issues. You know,
Yep.
we have the needs that we have brought forward, that we've had a few very hard years here in North Andover. But you're right.
So this is our beginning to climb back out of that, get the ship sailing up above the water again, right? But the point I wanted to make, right, is that 2.8% is not really enough for them. Our 4.05 is not really enough for us, and that's why in FY28 probably looking at an override. So just for clarity purposes, for everybody's benefit. Next thing, the one I want to ask about is on back to slide 6 again. So I fully understand the idea here of using some of the circuit breaker money that we're, and I think, again, for everybody's benefit, right, that I now know, right, that comes from, it comes a year late, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Maybe like go to the slide that shows the circuit
Oh,
breaker.
sorry, 6, I think.
No, it's way down at the bottom, I think.
Oh, the detail.
That one's, yeah, it's more detailed.
Yeah,
Nope, that's staffing.
That might be-
Slide
yeah, this one.
19.
19.
Yeah, 19.
Okay.
Keep bouncing around.
Yeah, so I think it'd be worth understanding the risks associated with that, right? Because we don't know what we'll get this year's circuit breaker money next year, right? So we're making some assumptions here. I think they're good assumptions and they're solid, but I think for everybody's benefit, they should understand, right? There is some risk in that.
There is risk. I'm going to ask Ms. Dowd and Ms. O'Neill to talk about the risk.
So what we're attempting to do is build up a full year of circuit breaker. That way, when you budget a known number for your circuit breaker. And then if something happens in the following year, you have next year's circuit breaker
To make
to
it up.
tap into, is what we're working towards. So we are anticipating a carryover this year that we've been showing that we've built into the budget for fact certain, because we know that those funds are available. We have, Ms. O'Neill and I worked through this to look at where we anticipate this year's claim may be. We will not know that until July because we don't have a full year of the data. So the claim is submitted in July. They go through, they review it, they determine what your eligible expenses are, and then on top of that, you have whatever the state's reimbursement rate is, which again is not a known number. This year and last year, we were very fortunate that the funding rate had increased, but we don't know where the state revenues are going to be. Their budgets come out significantly later than ours, so this is a conservative estimate at where we think it may go. What we also want to let folks know is that we are also working very hard to make sure we're bringing and keeping as many students in district as possible. That is a great scenario to have, but it also does have the same impact on circuit breaker. Is it decreases the amount of your claim, hence decreases the amount of your reimbursement. So we're trying to balance all of that to come up with our estimate of what next year's reimbursement would be, which is, we are anticipating 2.5 million in reimbursement that we would receive.
But our proposal is to only use 1.5 of the 2.5 that you anticipate. So there's some risk mitigation there.
There is some risk mitigation there. Again, we do not know exactly how much the claim is going to be, and as we say when we build out the budget, it's based on what we know today. If we have students moving in, changes in placements, you could have one residential placement that is eating through a significant portion of that $1 million. So we do not want to use all of it because we want to have the ability, if something were to change, we still have the ability to fund it without going deficit or having
Or going to the FinCom reserve, which is the other sort of backstop, right?
But we do have the FinCon reserve,
Yep.
and that's why it's there, and if we have to go to it, but that would be. If you go to slide 20, I also want to just talk about when you said what is a potential what risk. So the risk is that we would be spending $73,705,289. We'll be adding those new staffing and new expenses to the budget, but in essence, we're self-funding ourselves by using the circuit breaker. The recommended budget to the town manager still is $72,200,000. So the FY '28 budget increase is off of $72,200,000. Not off of $73,705,000, which is also why it is important that we are planning for an FY '28 override. We're having that conversation about what that looks like. Because we're just using this money for 1 year, and then we would have to reevaluate.
The, one way to look at it is we anticipate the claim next year being 2.5. In next year's budget, we have almost 3.5 of circuit breaker built in to get to the 72.2. So that what we have built in for circuit breaker is more of a 1-year approach.
Okay, thank you. And then I had another one, jumped around. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I think it's worthwhile to point out on slide 11, right? We're bringing back a fair number of people, which is a great step. So just comment on that, right? And we lost a lot of valuable people last year. We're bringing some of them back, which is great. My question is on the next one, on 12, just the increased athletics based on current trending data. So are we seeing better participation, and we're anticipating needing more money for that? What's
That's based on, we had anticipated revenue source from athletics in terms of user fees, and we're not seeing that what we had anticipated in terms of user fees matches what we would
What we
plan on
need.
spending, and so therefore we are moving more money into the athletics.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
That's my three.
We'll come back if necessary. Mr. Moskovich.
I wonder if I could just continue the circuit breaker discussion a minute. My understanding is, first of all, that unlike most funds, this carries over for a year, right?
You have 1 year to use it, yes.
Right. So my understanding is that you expect that the amount left to carry over a year from now will be less by about $1.5 million than it's been up until now.
We actually, we currently do not have carryover that we have available. This year, we are anticipating to have carryover at the end of fiscal '26 to use in fiscal '27, with the goal of building it to get to a point where we had the full 1 year in reserve. So under this approach, we would still not have 1 year in reserve at the end of
Right.
next
The
year.
increase we might otherwise have had will be lower. It's one-time money, essentially, right? At the expense of the balance, right? And the purpose being, as the superintendent said, that we're going to need an override, and we'll be better prepared to lay out all our needs a year from now. And so this is a way of not making, of addressing some urgent needs
Yes.
as part of a long-term. Right. And I am one of our two members on the special education, whatever our subcommittee is called, and I want to thank you, because it's been clear from comments from the parent representatives from the CPAC that there are some pretty serious needs, so I appreciate your addressing them. And the other thing, this discussion, it's very confusing how much money we actually spend. We spend money appropriated by the town, and then we spend other money, like, in many cases, essentially the same purposes, like Title I money. So this goes to Ms. Cormier's question. It's kind of hard to lay out how much we actually spend, but there's a few kinds of money that are sort of the same purpose that don't come out of the general fund. Those are my only questions.
Thank you. I guess what I was thinking is, number one, well, thank you for all the hard work that you did, and thank you to all the administrators for helping you do all that work. I recognize that this is a team effort to make this all work together,
Absolutely.
so I deeply appreciate all their efforts as well. For me, it's helpful to think about the 72.2 that we're asking for is the amount that we're going to be asking town meeting to give to us, although we spend monies that come from other places.
Right,
But the
exactly.
72.2 is what we're asking town meeting to say, schools, this is for you this coming fiscal year. And then we have the reserve, or the carryover from this year that we want to use, and et cetera. Because that's the number that will be voted on. Why, Superintendent, why wait till next year to ask potentially for an override?
I think an override takes time and planning, and I think it's important that we have a full, we are able to work collaboratively with the town. I think it was laid out at the tri-board meeting. This gives us and we are, so from the school side, we're currently in the process of strategic planning. So I think when you're asking for something, you want to say why you're asking for it. Now, we know lots of reasons why we're already asking for more money, but the strategic plan allows us to hear the voice of everybody. It allows us to hear the voice of the people that may not come here. It allows us to hear the voice of the people, that we may not have heard before. So it lays out a plan, and our strategic plan has asked for input from our teaching staff, our support staff, from our central office, from our community partners, from our students. So community partners are things like the library here in town, Merrimack College. We reached out to Northern Essex Community College, Youth Center. We really tried to spread this out as much as we could. And I believe, again, as we're asking for money, when we have that strategic plan in place, we can say these are the needs and these are the wants of our community, and so that we are able to carefully articulate that so that we can garner support from our taxpayers. And I believe that the town has items, as Mr. Brown pointed out, that there's concerns as well, and it gives the town an opportunity to lay out what their needs are so that we can work together to provide and set a long-range plan. I think our override needs to be substantial in order to not find ourselves sort of scrambling every 1 or 2 years. And as Ms. Dowd just said, we haven't been as fiscally responsible as we could have been or should have been. And we are spending this year really showing the town and showing the community that we are fiscally responsible. We hadn't had reserves in circuit breaker. We were spending money that we didn't have, that sort of rainy day fund. If you think about it in your own households, you sort of have that rainy day fund. So that's why I'm proposing that we wait a year. It gives us the time to start, to spend a full year garnering support, laying out a plan, looking at a large sum of money so that we can do right by the town of North Andover.
And Ms. Lathrop, if I remember correctly, at the tri-board meeting, we have that 4% this year, but next year we're looking at a 2%. So
2%.
our need is going to be substantial next year.
And honestly, I don't know, it gives us the opportunity to gather some of the data. So as Ms. Cormier said, what are we really spending? The truth is it hasn't been as easy for us to show past years of data because it hasn't been there. And that was something we learned. But we are feeling very confident about the data that we have. And that gives us an opportunity to pull that data so that we can show that really large picture.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second question, or last question, slide 11. You knew, you were right there. So these are additions to what we have this year. In order for you to continue to do the work, are these absolutely necessary to add in?
I would say yes,
Okay.
but I also want to be realistic and honest. So I absolutely need one elementary teacher in order to meet the needs of the students that are bubbling. I believe I absolutely need one middle school teacher to reduce class size at middle school. I believe I absolutely need 3 special education positions and 3 teaching assistant positions. I believe we absolutely need the assistant principal at the ABECC.
How many students do we have there?
We have about 430 students this year, but that
Is that
can
the second
range.
biggest of the elementary
It's the
schools?
second biggest of our elementary schools.
And they don't have a,
They do not, and as I said, we're looking at, we've had some retirements at the ABECC in terms of leadership and looking at restructuring that program. But honestly, we're still going to open the ABEC. I just want to be true, right, and honest to you. And the same thing with daily substitute rate. I mean, yes, I believe we absolutely need that because, many of the people that are sitting here are educators, and they can tell you there are days that, and then the principals and, assistant principals can tell you that there are days that they don't have sub coverage, that they are maybe pulling somebody, going without, subbing themselves. I've seen principals teaching PE, teaching 3rd grade, assistant principals, the same thing. So we really need to have a competitive rate so that people will come and work in North Andover. So my answer is yes, we absolutely need all of those.
I agree. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll go back around. Mrs. Cormier, anything that?
I got more. Okay, slide 2. So this is just a question, this is the student populations, and I'm just trying to understand the data on slide 2, on the right-hand side.
Yep.
Where it's selected student populations.
I just pulled that. That's the topic that comes off of DESI's website. That's the way that they list it. So those are our populations of students.
So so high need says 38.7. Does that mean we have 38.7 high need students? Is it a
It's a percentage, and high needs is a combination of low income and students with disabilities
And ELA.
and ELL students.
So is that saying 38.7% of all of our students are high needs?
Correct.
So these are, okay, I was something like, do I add these up? And
No,
then,
so that's a percentage of our
Okay,
district.
of our total.
And then you can look at the DESI website and you can see that same graph broken down by each one of our
Okay.
schoolhouses.
all right, and so then it's just, not that you can see it anymore, but there's 4.7% of our students are English learners. Okay, they're independent. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
And it's interesting, I mean, if anybody has the time and the desire, you can go back and look at how our students have changed over time in North Andover.
Speaking of changes over time, slide 17. So with the out-of-district placements, we're seeing, like you said, we're seeing a decrease. What's driving that decrease? And with what those drivers are, do you expect that to continue? Or is it just based on population and who moves in? Like how, can you draw any conclusions here as to what drove that or where it might continue?
So I can answer. Do you want to answer?
Whatever you want me to do.
You want to go ahead?
Okay. So there are several factors. All of what you just said, I would say yes. But I am proud of the fact that we are looking at our in-district programming. We are addressing the needs that we saw as needing to be addressed to, in fact, bolster and build our programs into a more rigorous special education model. So I am proud of that. We are doing that at all levels. We are currently working as a department on all of the program descriptions, all of the entrance and exit criteria, the student profile, excuse me. And we are really trying to make things very clear, very precise, and transparent.
Thank you. Thank you for the work and thank you for the information.
So I'll add to that answer just a tiny bit too, just because I really want to sort of elaborate on the planning. I think that Ms. O'Neill has really, that was one of her sort of main focuses when she came here, to understand our district, to look at the programs, to make some programmatic changes, either maybe combining programs or looking at the needs of the students, or maybe slightly tweaking their their sort of path that makes more sense for their disability or what they might need. But I also, want to point out that that was strategic in terms of the hiring. So this year, when we were looking to add leadership in our schoolhouses, in 2 of them, we added assistant principals for student services because we knew that special education was an area of concern for our district. And honestly, in a perfect world, you would have a special education program coordinator and an assistant principal, but we don't have the ability to have that right now. But that gives us the ability to really hone in on special education services within that building and in a leadership administrative way and support other functions within the building as an AP. And I also want to point out one of the things that Ms. O'Neill has done is that we do have a program coordinator for special education in the elementary. That person does have some other responsibilities as well, but also has time in their schedule to be able to support all the schools. We were able to put back the special education program coordinator at the middle school that we didn't have before, so we now have a full-time special education program coordinator at the middle school, and we have one at the high school that had been there before. As you remember, Lynn talked last year about bringing on the transition specialist, something that we are supposed to have, but we didn't have, but that position is within our district as well. So all of those combined efforts are helping to bring it down. And, we have really qualified staff and really looking at, giving some PD in terms of to our ETLs and programming for our students within the district.
Fantastic. Because if you look at the numbers, last year there was 70 out-of-district placements. You're projecting 60. It's 15% decrease, right? So thank you for the work that you're doing with our students to be able to provide for them in district for what they need.
Thank you. I also do want to say that we have an incredible out-of-district coordinator who also is working. She oversees the 18 to 22 launch program and works very closely with the transition coordinator. Together, her talents, her skills are just unbelievable and fluid about really working with families about what makes the most sense for their students, which I love.
Thank you. All right, slide 12. I wasn't kidding. So just to, I think it was Mr. Brown asked the question, I think around the increase to athletics and kind of what was driving that. Just, so one of the things that Mr. Brown and I heard in one of our latest community chats was around, and may not be related at all, but just kind of want to raise it since one of the things we heard from the high school students, the community chat we had here, was around funding for other types of student activities, not just athletics, but drama, band, those types of things, and reality or not, the feelings of kind of funding in those areas. I'm just wondering, sort of, was there, maybe you can't answer it now, but kind of consideration around how much more funding does athletics need versus drama, band, and using those two as examples.
So the funding athletics is to sustain the program that's already in place. So when we talk about level services, so making sure that, so it's not an addition, it's not adding things to, but it's bringing some of that funding that we thought we would be able to offset ourselves through user fees to be able to maintain that. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the extensive list of what our leaders here brought forward, there's something like a program coordinator for fine arts that gives us the ability to, to look at things like that. But some of that also goes down to a schoolhouse budget, so that's something that Ms. Holman will manage within her own schoolhouse in terms of monies that she supports through her budget to certain things in the high school. I think some of those students maybe talked a little bit about too fundraising and sort of their ability to fundraise and not that they can't, but it's just that maybe there's a larger population of folks that might be drawn to athletics and not so much to some of the smaller clubs that are looking to have funds to be able to support their students, support their activities.
Thank you. All right. One more, so back to slide 11. So I just wanted to, so in turn, my question is around the vice principal or the assistant principal at the ABECC, and really ties back, and kind of ties back to, or I want to see if there's a connection with kind of some, special education and what we're doing there. What my understanding is, this assistant principal will really help us drive some of our improvements around early literacy. I guess I just want to make sure that I understand that correctly.
Yes.
And what will that do? And because that benefit seems tremendous for our students, and that what that will bring and to other areas within the district, not just those students, but also allowing then the right resources to get spent in the right places. And it's,
And in many ways, so I want to point out that the ABECC is a high achieving school. They are a school that is equipping, that our students come out of there with excellent skills in terms of literacy. And if you look at some of the data, some of our DIBELS data we talked about, they are performing really well. Some of the things, though, that get in the way or can be challenging is that, and I think I've said this, that being a school leader, I'm like blinded by the light. Being a school leader is all encompassing. You know, you are an instructional leader, but you also are the person that's managing the buses if they're late, and the person that may be doing a bullying investigation, and the person that maybe if the hot water's not working that day, or other kinds of things. And as the demands of school leaders has really increased, we need to support our leaders so that they are supporting their staff within their school building and keeping ABECC as a high-functioning school. And also, we have a model here where our kindergarten students are in one building and then they transition to other buildings. And we have done some good work in terms of making that transition from kindergarten to first grade, but I think many of the leaders and educators would say there is work to be done. And there's some opportunity there by bringing in another leader to help bridge that gap. Because if you know, when you're a second grade teacher, you can go down the hall and talk to the first grade teacher about the students that you may have just had, or vice versa. But when you're a first grade teacher, you don't know what their experiences were like in kindergarten. And having that ability to bridge that gap will be great. We also have been stretching our folks thin. We have a curriculum coach at ABECC that was devoted full-time to ABCCC at one point, but this year we are using that literacy coach to support K-2 learning across the district, so to be able to support that and to keep those initiatives going. It's funny, sometimes there's two schools of thought. Some schools say that like the principal is the instructional leader in the building and then the AP sort of has to do all the other stuff, right? And you know that if you've been in AP, it's like, the AP goes outside and handles the recess, or they handle some of those other things. I don't think that we're that school of thought here in the district. I really think that we're a school of thought that says that we have leaders in the building that support the whole building, and they work really well together, and be able to share because you want any leader in your building to be both an instructional leader and sort of an operational leader. The other thing is that we talked about the Department of Education has really put a forefront on early literacy in terms of preschool. Looking at potentially universal preschool, looking at programming for preschooling, wanting us to have a curriculum for preschool. And while we do have preschool students and kindergarten students in one building, I think that we do still see that we need to work on what that preschool curriculum looks like and then how we blend that into kindergarten to give some the opportunity to be able to do that. That was a very long-winded answer to your question.
I think it's such an important position, and it's I think the gains that our district will see go well beyond just what
Right,
it's sitting in
and
the ABs.
it's about the hiring, right? Like, I take hiring really seriously around here. And when we bring a new leader into the building, into the district, we bring a leader in that has something that they're going to offer that maybe is missing here in our district. And, I talk about the assistant principals for student services. That was something new and something that we really were very particular about the candidates that we brought forward. And the same thing when we bring a candidate forward in the early childhood center. We want a person that is well vested in early childhood education who will be able to support the initiatives they're working and bringing us new initiatives into the program as well. We all know it's really hard to be an island all by yourself.
I have one more question, then I promise I'm done.
I think
won't
we
do
are
the rest.
gone over.
I may probably did, but this is my second time in taking it. Okay, so this goes back to slide 20. Not that anybody can see it anymore. But so of the total budget, and
Yeah.
I'm really just I'm beating a point we already made.
Okay.
So we've got the recommended the 72.2 million from the town.
Yep.
You're asking to do the 1.5 circuit breaker. We already talked about, but when it comes to what money we spend on our students, we're already spending grant. We know there's grant money, revolving fund money on top of that. And I just want to point out that there is also the money that gets spent for things like copy on the schools that's part of the town budget as well, right? So I just that there's
We have shared services with the town.
with the town as well. So I think it's one of these things is we try to, because we all look at this and we try to compare, how are we doing versus our comparable districts in other towns? It's extremely challenging to compare and get apples to apples because we now have our budget here. We have the circuit breaker money. We have our shared services money that is within the town budget, not ours at all. And then we have grant and revolving funding. So as anyone tries to do those calculations, it's really important that they're working with actual, true comparable data. And it's not, but the kind of.
But I would tell you that most districts are very similar in that most districts have the same kinds, we have the same revenue, we have the same sources that we use. Some may be slightly different, but so there is some ability to make some comparisons. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, anything?
Just one more thing. Slide 8. I think I know the answer, but I think it would be useful for everybody to hear it, right? And I guess this is for Gail.
Good.
You know, everything that we've built in here, we're estimating based on, some of this is known, much of it is known, but some of it is unknown, right? In other words, or at least at risk. So for instance, a couple of years ago, we got hurt by by our district not realizing there was a huge increase coming in tuitions for out-of-district placements. So I know that we know that now, right, and that we've planned for it. But I guess what my question is anything in here, or what in here is the riskiest thing to us?
If I were to say the riskiest area would be special education, because I always say to people, we're building a budget today, which is well over 12 months before this is to carry us through June of 27.
Right.
So this is based on the student population as of today, their current placement. So the risk is we do not know move-ins, changes in student needs, changes in placements. We've done to the best of our ability. We've estimated rates we can't control if schools ask for
And I guess,
special dispensation.
and it's just as long as everybody understands that there's always risk like that.
Yep.
The transportation part of this, right? We're locked in for another.
We are, the transportation piece, I would say in and of itself also does have risk. So our general education, we are locked in. Once we know how many buses, that one's set. The same with our in-district special education buses, where that one we have a pretty good sense to be able to estimate. The out-of-district transportation is directly tied to the
Number of out-of-district placements. Yeah.
The other one that I will say has risk, while not to the same magnitude, is the homeless and foster. So that changes on a daily basis. We are adding, moving, changing. So I will say transportation has inherent risk.
Okay, well, that's understood. And I guess that circles back to the addition of the ABEC assistant principal, who's also going to help us. What I'm trying to say, right, the more kids we're able to serve in district, it's better for them, number one. But it has a double benefit, right? Because if they stay in district, then we also don't have to pay out-of-district transportation for that same student. So we win twice. So that work is super critical and important, and isn't that extra part of that extra the new assistant principal's job is to help identify things early and.
Well, we do have a special education program coordinator at ABECC who has been perhaps picking up some other pieces, so it really allows that person to focus on their position in terms of special education. But, I mean, anytime you put more humans into a building that are working with kids and teachers to identify students' needs, you are enhancing their ability to stay within our programming and to support them within the general education.
Okay, great. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Moskowitz, anything else? The answer can be no.
Yes, I have 3 comments, which I won't pretend to hide as a question.
Okay.
And then one question. So the first comment is to Ms. Cormier's question. What you referred to, the problem that the amount of spending on schools varies from city to city or town to town depending on who pays for the snow plows. And when we were working on the foundation budget 30 years ago, that problem arose. And so in addition, that the reform law not only created a foundation budget, it required towns to calculate something called foundation budget spending. I have no idea whether DESE is still doing that, but that was as if it was anticipating your question. Is there a place where somebody looks at all the spending regardless of whether it's in the town budget or the school system budget? Yes, it's the foundation budget spending. So that might help you, if it still exists. Second comment is about assistant principals. In my experience, schools don't really improve unless principals are strong education leaders. And if you, at any moment, have to be called away because some problem with a child or with the plumbing, it's just almost impossible to be a strong educational leader in any sizable school without an assistant principal. So the assistant principal is what you need in order to have the strong leadership that is a prerequisite to any kind of improvement. So I'm delighted with the superintendent's recommendation. Third comment is about override. About 6 months ago, I had a chance to talk to some of the people who worked hard to get the last town override, which was in 2007, ancient history. And you have to start a year in advance. So I think the superintendent is wise in recommending that we not try to do something starting now, which takes a year. So I hope we'll have the long-distance plan, the strategic plan for the end of the school year so that, you know, late spring, early fall, we can start working with partners throughout the town on a coalition to pass it. And my one question is, another source of spending that doesn't exactly, well, I'm not quite clear about this, whether it comes from the town or not, but there's something like $3.5 million we get from federal Title I money and federal special ed reimbursement. Now, are we at risk if the president succeeds in cutting them? Does that hurt the town or does it hurt us?
It hurts the schools, those go directly to the
It
schools.
goes directly to the schools. So it's another category of money that kind of is spent in essentially the same way as the appropriated money. But if it doesn't happen, then we'll have to cut something.
Yes.
That's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Sams, any?
Yes, just one. So we need an extra 1.5, and I appreciate that you said, okay, this is what I need, I found a solution. What other solutions were considered? Were you able to approach the town before coming to us? Were there other areas of revenue that we were able to look at before coming to the decision to use the circuit breaker?
We, in our budget meetings with the town, we did share that our budget was projecting higher than what was the town manager's allotted money, and did talk about, you know, sort of the well. At that time, there weren't offerings in terms of looking at what other revenue sources might be there. And we also, you know, knew that there was some, we have circuit breaker funding, and yeah, you have an opportunity to spend it. And we have been responsible this year in the circuit breaker money. So that is sort of where we landed during that time, our budget meetings. But we do, as you know, we meet monthly with the town, and we were forthcoming, sharing that our budget was going to come in over.
Thank you.
Before my last question or comment, anything else from the committee members? Thank you, Superintendent Lathrop, and to the rest of your team for all your work. My last comment is on slide 19, just your proposal to bridge the gap. Thank you for being creative. And my nervousness in your plan is not because it's just that it's a stopgap. And it's not that I do not want to do this year, because that's the thing that we need to do. It's just the importance of us planning and coalescing around the idea that we need to ask for an override for fiscal year 28. That is obvious that and that we need an override to sustain what we are going to do next year, and we're going to need an override to make the significant changes that I'm sure are going to be identified in your strategic plan that we'll see in early April, that is the thing we need to start working towards. That is quite obvious, and I think it's wise to wait one more year before we do that, make that ask, so that we have a clear plan about what it is that we want to do for our kids here. I also really appreciate that you came up with a number that you need, not making the number that was there work. I'm afraid that if we went with the number that was there and making that work, we would have to say goodbye to other people, and that would be something I would not be able to support. But I like your plan, and I think it is the right step right now for us to take for the upcoming fiscal year. So thank you.
You're welcome. Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to just be really transparent and clear and say that it's all words have meaning, and it's easy to say this is what we need, and I don't want that to mean that I don't think we need something else. We certainly need something else, and that's why I want to set the stage and start thinking about and planning for the override so that we can meet the needs of our students in the long range and of our staff in long range, because a budget takes care of all of our community. So I just want to be clear to the community that this isn't a budget that says these are all the needs that we brought forward, but we were our administrative team has been very thoughtful in bringing forth recommendations and talking through. And to somebody's question had asked me earlier, maybe it was you, Mr. Hicks, sort of how did you get here? What I did fail to mention is that Ms. Dowd meets with all of our principals, with our athletic director, with anybody, our nursing staff, any director of social emotional learning, anyone that has a budget within our district monthly to review what they're spending, to review what their projections might be, and to plan for the future. So all of those meetings are also, what do you need going forward? But I know that if you sent the microphone over to the principals over there and said, did you get what you need? The answer is no. Because there was a lot of things that they put on the table. And we did talk about prioritizing. And just like in any situation, like in a family, sometimes your need takes precedent this year, and other people might feel slightly disappointed, or in a family that you're taking care of that one need and that you're planning for the future of something else. So I just want to be really clear in saying that I know that our district has more needs, but we are trying to think very thoughtfully about the directives of the school committee, about the work that has been done in the district in terms of the Special Education Advisory Committee, and the ones that are clear that we can see and start that path forward.
Thank you. If I may, Superintendent, can I do my update first? Because I think it's more germane to the
Sure.
what we just all talked about, and then we'll do your report afterwards.
Yep. And then just before you end, I also want to really thank the leadership team. I know that Mr. Hicks has done that. Thank the school committee. Thank the community. Thank our teachers union, who has been very vocal about the things that they need, and sharing that. That also helps to reflect as we move forward. This is a community process, and I thank you for your time tonight in listening to this budget.
Thank you. So the one thing I want to go over is just, again, a review of the budget process. This is our first meeting where we get to hear the superintendent's recommended budget for fiscal year 27. The next step is next week. On the 15th, we're going to have our second meeting. It will be at the Senior Center, starting at 6:30. The following meeting will also be at the Senior Center on the 29th. Part of next week's meeting on the 15th will be a public hearing. A public hearing is like a public comment, but it is different. We're required at certain times during the year by law to have some public hearings. One of them is about the budget. We do another one about school choice in May. It's different in that during the public hearing, we actually open a separate meeting within the meeting, and we have the public hearing. The main idea is that there'll be a presentation about the budget, and then there'll be comments or feedback from the public that can only be about the budget itself. It has to stay on topic of the budget. So next week, we'll have that public hearing during our meeting where we hear feedback and comments from the public about the budget itself. We will also have a regular public comment at the beginning and end of the meeting that can be about anything that's pertinent to the agenda or schools. So again, public hearing is just a little different, where we just limit comments to that one topic, in this case, the budget. Last year, there was a little confusion about that. I want to make sure we're very clear about that expectation. And then on the 29th, we'll have another meeting at the senior center, and that's when we will vote to move on a budget that will get forwarded to the town manager and the FinCom and the select board, and then goes through their process, and then eventually that will come before the entire town meeting on, what's the day, Ms. Cormier?
May 12th.
May 12th. Get your
Get your
babysitters.
babysitter.
And
Or use
again,
the town.
the town votes on the budget, and the part that the schools will be asking for as part of that budget vote is $72,200,000. The remaining 1.5 million and change is planned on being spent from our carryover from circuit breaker. But the town will be voting on 72.2 as our allocation for this coming year. That's all I got. Superintendent, your update?
Yes, so I think I knew that the technology might be a little, fitzy this tonight, so I don't have a presentation for superintendent's update.
okay.
I just have a couple things I just want to just share with you. We did have another meeting of the Strategic Planning Committee. There's about over 40 people that are part of that larger committee. We met broken down into 3 subgroups, looking at the survey data and any other data that we have provided to our consultants in order to start to look for trends or sort of like buckets. We were sort of looking at big things that were popping out to us. So the 3 subcommittees were, there was a finance and technology subcommittee, a sort of culture and communication subcommittee, and a teaching and learning subcommittee that started to look at that data. So that's underway. And then I want to extend an offer to our PTOs, CPAC, to school communities. I'm available to, between now and the hearing or before the school committee votes on the budget, to come out to senior center to talk about this budget, to have the small groups to answer other kinds of questions, to present again. So just making sure that folks know that I'm available, and I will reach out as well to be able to do that. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about what day is today? Thursday?
Today's Thursday.
Yesterday was Wednesday. Wednesday was a challenging day in the district. The weather was not our friend, and we made the decision to have an early release. And, quite honestly, I don't...
Hour delay.
Oh, sorry, early release. So we had a 2-hour delay. We made the decision to have a 2-hour delay. That decision was made on what I believed at the time was the best interest, to knowing what I knew about weather and where we were. But it was a really hard day, and we had challenges with our students walking to school. We had challenges with our students driving to school and our staff driving to school, and we had challenges with our school bus. And in hindsight, I really wish it had been a no-school day, but I wanted to recognize that, and I also wanted to say that that does happen, right? That we do live in a place where you have to make your determinations based on what you know best, but there are some things that we can control. And I think our communication wasn't what I would like it to be. It was a triage day. We did unfortunately have a fair amount of buses that were having difficulties, and our transportation coordinator was triaging that all day long and dealing with that and helping. We had some new drivers that were new, and so dealing with that. So therefore, some of our communication to our families about their students' a length of time on the bus or their delivery to their school was not what we would want it to be, and we are looking at that. We are starting today putting new protocols in place to be able to address that. And I think that everybody was safe yesterday and got to school, but on behalf of the school system, apologize for what probably felt like some scary moments for some of our families waiting for some communication from the schools and the superintendent's office.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to you, Mr. Brown, for the Kittredge Elementary School Building Committee update, I have one other thing about town meeting that I'd like to say. This is related to that, but I had the town manager help me write this so I say it correctly and I don't make any mistakes. So, as we've learned at the tri-board meeting, at the town meeting, per MSBA requirements, we will have an article to authorize the debt for the new Kittredge School. The authorization of this debt will allow the project to move forward to bidding and construction. Based on current assumptions, we anticipate a 30-year bond with a payment of approximately $3 million per year. Due to the fluctuation in Amazon new growth this year, to account for the entirety of the value of their inventory, the town is able to move forward this project within our tax levy. That means that the item will appear at town meeting and require a 2/3 vote of town meeting, but will not require a debt exclusion. So we will be voting to appropriate the money. We can pay for it within our current tax levy, and we don't need a debt exclusion to pay for it.
In other words, it's like any other bond that the town
Yeah,
issues.
we need approval to take out the loan, but we don't need approval to go over our tax levy to do that for a limited amount of time. That would have required both a vote at town meeting and an election, so this is good for us.
Very good. All
What
right.
else do we have to know about, do we need to know about the Kittredge Elementary School building project?
Okay, so we had a meeting today, so it's very timely. We are on the preliminary budget. We're within budget. The schematic design for the project was submitted on December 18th. The MSBA gives you a sort of 48-hour quick read of it to make sure you're on track. That was successful. Then they do several weeks of a more extensive review. There'll be Q&A back and forth with our owner project manager and our architect during the next 4 weeks. There'll be, like I said, comments going back and forth. They'll be asking for clarity on square feet and, for this purpose and that purpose, all ordinary stuff. We'll get the full formal review feedback around the end of January, approximately the end of January. The committee will be, our next committee meeting, one more piece of important information. On January 29th, we will find out what they have deemed as ineligible square feet. And then we'll have potentially some decisions to make about how to go forward with that. But anticipation is that should be a negligible impact. Our next our next KSBC, Kittredge School Building Committee meeting will be on February 5th, and those are open to the public. The board meeting where the formal approval will be made by the Mass State Building Committee will be on February 25th. And town meeting is May 12th.
Thank you.
So that's our big date, February 25th, right?
February
That's
25th is when the
we're here.
official notification comes. Yes, they're approving their share
Their share of the funding.
of the
stuff.
funding. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Moving on to new business, overnight field trip request from the Robotics Club. Up on the screen. They want to go to Colorado.
It is, yes.
Is this one of those signature events?
It is one of the signature events that happen. They recently got word of it, which is why the timing is what it is, and so we're looking for a first read tonight.
And they're okay with us approving it potentially next week? Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Is this, it says date of departure 2/2 and then return 2/3, so are they just turning right back around?
That's a good question. Exactly. I can get more details for you.
That's a lot.
There's some trip information.
All right, thank you.
It looks
That
like
is
they
some-
are.
That is some commitment.
Sounds like they're taking a red eye.
Oh, my goodness.
It seems a little.
Colorado?
Colorado Springs, yes, it looks like they're.
The red eye.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
I've
you
been
don't
on
get
that
much
flight.
sleep done.
That's
they're gonna-
why it's called a red eye.
No, but I mean, even less than.
Oh, no, you can leave here in the morning and get there by noontime, do the stuff, and then you can you can come back the next day.
They would come back the next night, though.
Yeah.
It would be, yeah.
I would assume
It's still what I used to call a FedEx trip when I used to do it, but.
But if you know what? Have a blast.
Hey, they're young, right?
Sleep on the plane.
Yeah.
This is great. Thank you. If you have any other questions, please forward them to
Michelle.
Michelle. Second new business, program of studies.
Excellent. And so what I would love you to do for a first read tonight is the North Andover High School Program of Studies has not changed since you approved it last year, and you approved the Program of Studies yearly. As you know, we've been going through competency determination. The high school is going through defining the portrait of a learner. We're doing strategic planning. What we would love to do is leave the Program of Studies as it is. And a review will be planned with my curriculum office and the leadership at North Andover High over the course of this year. And so I would just love, the program of studies is attached there. We're not suggesting any changes, but a first read in accepting it is for your consideration tonight.
Thank you, and for the rest of the committee, our official policy is policy IGD. The third paragraph says, the committee shall be informed of all new courses and substantive revisions in the curriculum and will receive reports on changes under consideration, and acceptance of these reports, including a listing of high school program of studies, will constitute its adoption of the curriculum for official purposes. So.
As we are developing our high-quality instruction materials, portrait of a learner competency determination, it seems like a great idea this year to put it on pause,
Great.
ask you to accept it as it is, and we will keep you updated as we change it.
And thank you. We have no continued business, so we're going to move on to communications. Public comment? As a reminder, state name and address. We're going to go with 3 minutes a person. And the microphone's over here.
Juliette Darmon, 32 Clarendon Street, North Andover. Thank you for this thorough presentation. Thank you very much. I would like to remind everyone what kind of percent increase the town has given to the education budget through the years. From year 2022 to 2023, North Andover Public Schools received a 5% and 5.34% increase from the year 2022. In FY 2024, we received a 5.42% increase. In FY 2025, we received a 13% increase. That was the year we had a huge budget deficit, but the town gave us 13% increase. And last year, we received the awful 1.47% increase, which caused a huge loss in our schools. And this year, the town is proposing a 4.05%. So the point I'm trying to make is that 4.05 we have been given is not so generous compared to the previous years. I'm relieved to hear that we're getting a level budget, thank you, and we're getting roughly $1.5 million more. What I'm concerned about, and I think several members spoke about that, is that we're not asking the town for additional funding, but we are instead using circuit breaker money, which is, in my opinion, a band-aid solution. And band-aid solution is what this district has been doing for decades. As you can see from the slides that has been presented by Mrs. Lathrop, this $1.5 million is not getting us anywhere to what we lost last year. So yes to an override. Yes, we're all in. And NADA will absolutely support this override in any possible way we can do it. We'll support it, we'll canvass, we'll do anything we can do to help you. But if you have read the comments and the results from the survey that were given to the parents, to the staff, and to the students, I don't know if 28 is soon enough. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Chairman Hicks, I don't know if maybe at a later meeting, maybe we could review some of
Yeah.
the numbers that we heard, because I don't know if they align with
We will.
some of the information that I know, so I just want to make sure if
Yep.
anyone's taking that information,
I got it.
that we're able to respond to it as a correctly, accurately from the
Yep.
committee. Thank you.
No problem. Name and address, please.
Nadia Chinchilla, White Birch Lane, North Andover. Ms. Lathrop, thank you for the detailed information on the budget. I was really pleased to see that the budget allocated is higher than I was anticipating. Just a couple of comments in response to what has been said about an override, and just to sort of piggyback what Ms. Juliet Darman said. I think at the town meeting, at the last town meeting, through community involvement and organizing, I think there's evidence that the community would support an override with little notice. I think we were able to organize very quickly, and most of what we heard from the community then was, is this going to give us a level service budget? That's what they wanted to vote for. We were worried that we weren't going to get the support. We had heard that attendance at the town meeting was really difficult for parents, and that we were not likely to get the attendance. And I think that based on the numbers that we got, it was a record-breaking attendance. And most of the people that attended were parents who want to see investment in the schools. So I don't know who that decides whether an override is proper or not, but I would just encourage you not to be discouraged by the fact that you need time to rally the community, because based on my conversations with many community members, having knocked on many doors, the community is interested in investing in the schools. They know that it's an investment. They know that it helps the reputation of the town, and that they know that, like Aaron has said in the past, people don't move to North Andover for the beaches. I also wanted to comment on the investment in technology. I think that's really important. I think that there are a lot of programs that should be available to the young students, and I think that Chromebooks haven't been as accessible to the young elementary students as they have been in the past. So I would love for some of that investment to be in making Chromebooks available for all of the students. Anything that could be allocated to technology, I would support. Ms. Lathrop, I really enjoyed your office hours that you did last year. I haven't seen any notice of that this year. I appreciate the community chats with the school committee members, but I would love more direct contact with you, not just me, but the community. I thought that those gave opportunities for a number of people to gather and sort of feed off of each other and have a conversation that I think is really helpful. I thought they were more useful when they were in person versus virtual, so I don't know if you have any plans to have those.
3 minutes, thank you.
But that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let's please remember to address all comments through the chair. It's okay.
Good evening, Erin Harris, 135 Stevens Street. I appreciate the budget that was presented tonight and the steps forward that we've made since last year. I do think what has been requested is a significant improvement over where we were in the process last year. And I don't want to discount that in my comments, but I do also want to emphasize that I'm not sure we're going far enough. We all recognize that we are going to have to ask for more money. And by waiting a year, we have to evaluate what the consequences are. Ms. Lathrop presented the MCAS scores and the trends in the district a few meetings ago. And what we saw is that our students are not where we want them to be or where they need to be for our town to be successful. So if we wait another year to meet their needs, what are the consequences? We've seen when we look at the MCAS data, when you look at the cohorts, how the students are performing. Nobody right now is where we want them to be. But when we look at those 10th graders and where they were back in 3rd grade, our current 3rd graders are significantly underperforming compared to where our current 10th graders were back in 3rd grade. Those younger students are underperforming what their older cohorts are. So the cracks in the system are showing. And when it comes to those early foundational years, when we are talking about building their literacy fluency, it is like building the foundation of a house. We do it brick by brick by brick. But those bricks are missing. They're not just cracked right now for those kids. They are missing. And for each year that goes on, for those younger students, it is going to take more and more time, effort, and money from this community to get those kids to where our current students in the upper grades are at. Not to perform above where they're at, which is what we really want, but just to get them to the same level as their older peers. So when we kick this can down the road 1 year, the consequence for those kids is significant. And the consequence for our town is that we're going to need more money to lift those kids up in the future. I do believe we can rally the support for this. It's not coming out of nowhere. It is not with just 6 months of notice, because we talked about it last year. It is on the horizon for every parent who has shown up at these meetings. It is on the horizon for every person who showed up at that town meeting. Trust us to do the work for you. Don't keep kicking it down the road, because it will cost our kids and it will cost the budget down the road too. So don't wait. We can't keep waiting. Our kids can't keep waiting. I think we all know where we need to be, so let's just get there now, because the consequences are real kids. It's their futures. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Member comments? Mr. Moskowitz?
No, none.
Mrs. Sams?
Just one. For the sake of transparency, just reminding, this is the first time we are seeing this budget and presentation. So we have not been able to go through these slides before today. We didn't know where this money was going to be allocated and how this broke down. So just a reminder, for sake of transparency, that as the public is seeing this, we are seeing it at the same time.
Mr. Brown?
Nothing additional.
Mrs. Cormier?
Nothing additional.
Thank you. So our next meeting is going to be next Thursday, January 15th. We will be at the Senior Center, 6:30 start time. As part of that meeting, we will have a public hearing. Again, that will be only about the budget. We are to meet the requirements for that. We've already actually advertised that and the location of that in the newspaper, because that is required by law. So we're meeting all of our obligations that way. So I look forward to seeing everybody there.
Are we advertising the 3 listening sessions in the newspaper too?
We did not. We put those out on our own channels, but we have to put a public notice out in the paper for the public hearing.
Is it your opinion or experience that, does it matter? Or is there nothing, it's only state law, it doesn't actually produce more? Okay. I mean, I hope lots of people come.
I hope lots of people come.
Do you want to just repeat the dates in case anybody's listening?
Yes, so those are going to be Monday the 12th from 6 to 7, January the 17th from 1 to 2:30, and Monday the 26th from 6 to 7, and those community chats will be in the library. I'll entertain a motion.
Before we do that, just a quick question. For folks that are coming next week that want to comment on the superintendent's proposed budget, where can they see these?
This is linked to our agenda.
This is linked to our agenda today. So people who want to see them slides can look at today's agenda, follow the link, and get the.
Right, if you have an agenda that's not linked, just refresh and it's there.
Yeah, got uploaded.
And then with that, I will make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Mr. Moskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sams?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. We are adjourned.